We made it. Episode 100 of the NERO Show. In today's episode,
there's a new Scott Addict spy photos being released, and we love where Scott are going, a key mover in the Western bike brand space. We chat through what they might be doing.
Why should weekend warriors care about performance?
There's been another equipment mega group test, this time with wheel sets. And lightweights were the slowest. We chat through some of the results.
And Jesse and I discuss our highs and many lows of 100 episodes. All right, let's get into it. So how do you want to do this, Jesse?
Cat's got your tongue, eh?
I know.
Episode 100 gone quiet.
We just both sat here in awkward silence for a period of time. So here we are, 100 deep. I think a little later on today we might be a bit narcissistic and have a little bit of a review session, but in keeping with NERO Show tradition, I reckon we try and keep up to date with what's been happening this week, and there's been a few little bits and pieces happening.
There has been a bit of a drip feed. First thing I saw, GC Performance did a video, and he's got some spy photos of the new Scott Addict, not the
correct.
foil. I keep, for me, when someone says Scott, it's a foil. It's not. It's the Addict, which is their climbing, perhaps moving into the sort of do-it-all territory by the look of this new one. But it's the Scott Addict RC Ultimate that he did a video on, having a chat through, because he's got some spy photos of it. And I thought we'd have a chat through what we're looking at with the new Scott Addict release. Because there's a few things going on here, especially with these wheels, that I do think sets this apart from a lot of the other Western offerings. And I do think this is where the brands need to go to keep trying to move the bar forward.
My first thing is anytime I see someone release an outright climbing bike, I'm happy, because ultimately that means that they probably aren't going to be going the one bike to do it all option anytime soon. So this means clearly that the foil will still exist in some iteration as we go along. So, but yeah, I agree actually.
Actually, can I, going into that then, if Scott move forward and they have the foil as their aero bike as it is, and they stick with the Addict as it is, and they're probably going to do what the Giant did with the TCR, which is say it's been aero optimized slightly, okay, saves a few watts, sure. But if they're essentially still sticking with the climbing bike and aero bike option, are they behind then? Do they need the third option? Because are there people that are not going to be interested, given that the do-it-all range seems to be what the brands are going for? By having more choice, are they potentially stifling their own sales?
Well, yes, the answer to that, and I can guarantee you that every marketing meeting or inventory meeting that would have been had at all these brands will have probably had that line in it somewhere saying, guys, it's going to be more efficient and a far better business decision for us to go down to one bike. So you're right, it potentially does hurt them in that frame, but I can't let go, Jesse. I just can't let go of choice. And also, I know we went into the details of, and again, we might talk about this a bit more as we go along today, but the overall narrative of last week, which was the mega bike shootout thing, that came across was that, they're all really close.
Yes.
Right? But there were still winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted, the Scott foil still won, or at least was on the podium, or for a lot of speed tests. Okay. So there was still an argument for it.
Yeah.
In a circumstance.
Yeah, you're saying it hasn't reached full redundancy
Correct.
yet, according to Chris Miller. Okay. So let's see, what are we looking at here for this new Addict RC? So unfortunately, there's only 2 photos of it.
Yeah, come on, GC. You can do better than that.
He's got contacts.
Get
Come on,
your
give
contacts out. Come on.
What is this? So it's still very much a thin silhouette through the frame. There's a couple of major differences. Slim down the seat tube and the seat stay junction. So that was almost kind of rounded off and a bit thicker looking on the Scott Addict, the previous version. The new one does look like it's probably more of that D-shaped, slightly aero tweak. So they're probably going to say that saves a couple of watts. Head tube as well doesn't look deeper And unfortunately, we can only see the photos from the side. We know that when these brands go and aero tweak a tube, there is a lot going on from the front too, which we can't see. So I'm going to assume that the front is perhaps a little narrower. And you can see right at that bottom of the headset bearing, they've got that classic flat line kind of interference as it runs down to the down tube. So that looks like more of a classic aero bike, aero tweak. So I can guarantee that they're going to say this saves some number of watts. And you can kind of see the features that would be leading to that. I'm guessing that, hard to tell from the fork too, but perhaps that's got some more sculpting to it. And so it'll be the Addict, which was already very light, but more aero tuned. Now, I'm going to go out and say this will be more aero than the giant TCR.
Well, it's got drop seat stays.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. The head tube as well, there's something, this is as technical as I'm going to get. There's something that happens there. Right there. That's happening on this Scott Addict that wasn't there on the old one.
Do you hear that, Dan Bigham? Something happening there. That's how we operate.
And it's not happening on the TCR, but it's that area seems to be where the improvements come.
All right, if we're going to get into that style of assessment, I think there's something that happens.
Yep.
I physically tried to grab the down tube. The Giant has almost like a rectangular.
It's like the opposite of an actual aero tube shape. It's rotated around.
And so we can't see on that Scott photo what that shape would be. To me, as a aerodynamic engineer, such as myself, I would just imagine that is a key component to a bit of aerodynamic speed. Add in the fact we've got drop seat stays. Can I just quickly ask, potential side route, but whatever happened to, you know how disc brakes for a while we all had, especially endurance bikes, the race bikes had them as well, this rear kind of shock absorbing, everyone had like a solution to make the compliance of the rear end of a disc brake bike better, bearable.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that anymore. But they kind of still look the same. Are we just all now used to?
Give me an example.
Well, the Trek Madone had that
ISO
speed thing in it.
Okay.
Oh God, there were probably.
Oh, you mean? Oh, so sorry. You said the endurance bikes more.
More. Yes,
okay.
But then the criticism of the race disc brake bike was also that it was so harsh and uncompliant at the rear end. And now we don't even seem to even talk about that. In fact, Canyon were talking about stiffening up the rear end of it. So I don't know whether are we just now all used to it, because personally I do remember that from riding those first iterations of disc brake bikes. Now, yes, it was like the cheaper versions that I was initially riding, but they were like dog shit back there. And now they kind of still look the same, but they're delightful to ride. So I don't know. I don't know why that. If this bike had been released 5 years ago, we would have been hearing about there's some shock absorbing collar or bend that's
countervail,
something like that.
There would have been a countervail.
It just doesn't seem to happen anymore. So that's all. That was my little piece.
Okay, maybe the tires have saved us all. Perhaps.
I think that is probably the answer, Jesse.
But another question, Chris. This is what I want to know. Do Scott try and sell this as an SL8 competitor or a TCR competitor?
Drop seat stays. I just don't see this trying to be a climbing bike. I definitely feel like it wants to go down the route of the one bike to do it all a little bit more than the other one. I don't know. It's yeah, okay.
I reckon you'd try. If you're Scott, you try. Because I was actually born with a birth defect, and it's given me the ability to see aero. And I'm telling you, that's aero. So I actually see in colours and waveforms coming off certain objects, and I can see that there's what's saved here. It actually looks like the old version of the Scott foil. slightly slimmed down. There's some similarities there. So I reckon they're going to try and say they're going to pin this right next to a Trekmadone and go, this is your do it all package. And we're still going to have the foil as the out and out full on flat machine. And I think they're going to get away with it. That's my guess. I mean, we'll have to wait till it gets tested.
But the problem with this, from Scott's point of view, is won't that eat the foil people? Like, at least I suppose you could argue with like a full climbing bike, like the TCR or the Willy Air one, that person buying that bike is doing it for a specific reason and a specific ride feel and all that kind of stuff. They're probably not the person considering the aero bike, whereas this is a real toss-up now for the addict person between that and the foil, which, yeah, isn't good business, essentially. I mean, it's great for choice for us as cyclists, but it's not great business, I would imagine.
I don't think it would eat the foil sales because the person that's convinced they need the chunked out aero bike is never going to settle for 5 watts less for the Addict, even if it gets close to the SL8. And so I think those people will die on that hill and they don't want to compromise. And pretty much every other person will just get this and just be happy that it saves a few watts. I don't think if Specialized released Avenge, that you would have people like really struggling to pick between the SL8 and the Avenge. I think people already have made up their minds about.
That's an annoyingly good point, and I actually agree with you. And you've almost in one sentence changed my mind. Yes. Because I was thinking about this from the chat we had last week, where the overall narrative of that seemed to be that they're all the same. Well, the results were all the same. But they kind of weren't, because the S5 and the foil was still faster. And so you're right that those people, namely me, would, and that's why I'm always supporting the aero bike in that circumstance. We're like, well, fuck that. I want the aero bike.
You want the foil?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean, that said, I would love to see this tested, especially with those wheels, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be damn fast. They look sick. Can we have a quick chat about the brand, Scott? Or
Scott,
you got any other chat specifics?
What's
so
Scott?
Here's the thing with Scott. They're irrelevant in Australia. There you go. There's a statement. They just really are. And I know there'll be a lot of people who watch this, listen to this, whatever, and there'll be like 10 Scott foils in their bunch. And that's great. But it's just not the case here. I can name one person who has them, and I'm the weird person that every time someone rides past me, I ride past them, I look at their bike, I never see them. Social media, they are dead. I don't know who does them in this country. I don't even know where to get them in this country. They seemingly appear in sort of like on Bike Exchange, like as their sort of quasi distributor, but I know that's definitely not the case. So it's a bike, it's a brand. Where do you see it?
I think Aussies like Scott because of the Green Edge thing, and I think in terms of what is a Scott in Australia.
So the Green Edge thing, just to quickly say, they were the first sponsor of Green Edge when they first were in the World Tour. So and they had green and gold colorways. But anyway, just want to say that. Go on.
I think people think of Scott sort of like a Cervelo. It's a similar pegging in terms of how the bike sits. So I have a lot of. Yeah, I think I like Scott. I think most people like Scott. It's not thought of as like a Giant or anything like that. It's not thought of like a Canyon, but they seem to have stock issues here, and so no one really rides them.
And that's always the thing. I totally agree with you. It's a premium brand, performance-based premium brand, and that's okay. Like it doesn't then have to be in every store. I understand that, but for me, it's not just about the actual accessibility of the product. It's just the visibility of the brand here is poor. And I think that's just, maybe it's just the way that, I don't know, it's distributed or who looks after them. They just don't seem to make any effort, basically. But I agree with you. I think like Cervelo, kind of a similar kind of performance-y level, and I'm thinking of someone else.
One of the actual main reasons why I wanted to chat about this as well is because there's something exciting going on in the build, and this is what we're going to have to get to probably in this episode and also in lots of future episodes when we talk about bikes. We're going to have to start picking into the specs more.
You love your specs, don't you?
Because, well, if we go off last week's that aero testing and we start to just go, well, they're all aero's mostly the same. We know what the weights are. Well, the devil is in the detail, and the detail is in the specs. And so we're going to need to start going more into the specs. And I like chatting about it because people generally gloss over the specs a lot of the time. And there's something that stood out to me in the specs is that they're coming with these, at least via this photo, which is the Addict RC Ultimate, which is the top spec. This thing's going to weigh 6.3.
Yep, be like.
Because it's got these capital SL40 wheels, those super advanced wheels we talked about a few months ago, which weigh hardly anything, and
hookless.
They are hookless, and they're super expensive, but at least it's a mainstream brand, and they're doing that through Syncros, through their in-house wheel brand firstly. They're not just going and buying some DT Swiss things for cheap because you buy 150,000 sets or however many you buy. So they've got them using their in-house brand. They're a wheel set that's different from other companies and is innovative. And this is what I want to see from more of these mainstream brands, because with whether it's the Chinese brands or just your direct-to-consumer that are undercutting the prices, I think which we might get onto, the Felts of the world, the Cannondales of the world that get stocked with Vision, mid-range wheels, all those kind of mid to upper tier price, but sort of middle of the road, pretty generic spec brands do nothing for me. I think they're overpriced and they're not doing anything innovative. And then when I saw GC's video and this popped on, I thought, okay, cool. We got the new Addict, aero tweaked, with a set of wheels that you can't just go and buy elsewhere that are actually doing something different. I mean, this is going to cost a lot of money, but I think if you're going to load cash into a bike, at least get something innovative, and I think this is it. So this build is just doing a lot for me. I like what they're trying to do here, which is provide, I'm not going to say value for money, but what's the right word for that? Because it's not you wouldn't really, value is not the right word, but it's if you're going and buying a Ferrari, at least even if you never drive it at 300 kilometers an hour, at least you know it's good. And that's what this is for me.
You're getting perceived innovation for money,
or actual innovation for money. Innovation for money. Yeah.
And perceived, because it also looks state of the art.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think that's kind of important.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to this stuff. It is good to see you wanting to see the package tested, though, Jesse. Just to follow up on that, I did seem to win that in the comments last week.
Okay.
Most people did want to see the package tested rather than the custom one set of wheels. And this kind of, to me, almost backs that up, because this is what Scott's giving us. Scott's given us this package.
Mm-hmm. Give another kind of example there, right? Windspace come in. You can buy a T1550. You can buy your Hyper wheels, and they'll match any of the other mid-tier bikes, but they'll do it for a third of the price. Okay? And so if the mainstream brands just keep pumping out middle-of-the-rung bikes, but for upper-level prices, that's crap. People shouldn't be buying into that unless you really love the brand. And so this is, I like this. And I do, to give credit to some other brands, I do think the packages with the Roval wheels are good. You obviously have to pay for it, but at least they've really well thought out all the parts you're getting with those, especially with the wheels. So Specialized do it. Who else? Any other brands that stand out for you?
We're getting deep inside the Jesse Coyle.
Cervelo do it with the reserve wheels. I think there's something going on with there.
Just to clarify, because this is good. I'm liking this. Didn't know we were going here. But so you're listing to me the bike brands that are giving us
I'll say, okay, let me just say what I really mean, right? I'm getting the shits because I'm riding a Chinese bike with Chinese wheels, and people are going, oh, that's I wouldn't pay that, or it's too expensive. It's not it's $500 OEM frames. I go, okay, I can see that. But compared to what? Because it's matching the performance of some, mid-spec, high-mod Cannondale Super 6, but for half the price. So that's fine. Like, I if you think that's overpriced, then that's fair as well. But apply the same thing to the mainstream brands. I hate these run-of-the-mill, mid-tier, bloated bikes. If you're going to charge the top dollar, don't come in with mid-level performance. It's fine to charge top dollar, but come in with upper-level performance. And I just had a gripe. Maybe that's why I've got
this is good.
Pissed off with it, because I'm riding a mid. I'd actually argue.
As soon as you have to,
I'd argue. I would.
Oh, I can't believe you're saying that's mid tier. I mean, it's just just say it.
I'm right. Oh, I'm tossing up between. Am I riding an upper tier or mid? I'd argue the weight. I'll say you could get. Well, actually, it's not upper tier because those Syncross €4,000 wheels are better. So I'll say I'm riding a mid tier racing frame for what is a low to mid tier build cost with my bike. But you could easily go and buy a mid-priced frame with a low, then they weigh 8 kilos, and they're low. That's not a mid-tier performance. So from the Western brands, I don't think it makes sense to pay mid-level for a low to mid-tier performance. It should be the other way. If you want a mid-tier bike, you can get that. So if I'm going to a Scott to buy a bike, give me this. Give me this, the innovation. That's why you've got a team of 100 staff or however many people you got, is to get some of this stuff. And through the sheer amount of frames and wheels that you're pumping out, economy of scale, this stuff should be getting cheaper. And so that's my point. And that's why I was quite excited when I saw this. I thought, cool, there's something I can't just get through whatever.
Okay. I don't disagree with your rant. I do think you're probably overplaying the reaction of, oh, it's a expensive. I just feel like that's a comment from someone who's just capped negative on basically there'll be the same person who's going to say, oh, bring back rim brakes, or these bikes are too heavy, or whatever. So yeah, take that all with a grain of salt. But I was enjoying your ranking of Western brands that were putting together a meaningful package.
That's where I was going. I was going to try and ask you, who's doing the package well in your eyes?
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to steer away from the V word, value, because that's a waste of time talking about that. So I'm going to try and stay, the key feature is the performance of it and the perceived innovation. So it looks like there's tech that's gone into it.
Okay.
So for me, this is a really good example of that. Perceived performance has gone into this. I like this package. Put a set of Shimano Dura-Ace wheels on this. No, there's no perceived innovation there as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Okay.
Agree.
I am a big fan of my package, the S5 with the reserve wheels. 100.
Great package.
Oh, yeah. There we go. This week's reel. I think you're right. Supposedly, we hate Specialized. I was deep in the comments last week. We hate Specialized. I think their package is fantastic. I think those Roval wheels are sick. Yes, you pay for them, but I massively rate that bike. I don't think the same with the Trek, because I think those Bontrager wheels are too heavy and there's not enough innovation going into that frame. Who else is doing it really well?
I think Envy. I think if you're buying an Envy Malay and you're putting on your Envy SCS 4.5s, you've dropped some cash, but you're pretty happy. I think you're getting what you've paid for. So I give them credit for that.
All right, quick word from today's show partner, Pillar Performance. Traditional nutrition products like hydration and carbohydrates and Jesse's sugar water will take you through to the finish line, whereas Pillar's mission is to get you to the start line in the best condition over and over.
In this episode, Pillar wants to bring awareness to the benefits that magnesium supplementation can have for you as a cyclist, particularly as it relates to sleep and recovery. Do you have trouble getting to sleep each night? Or do you suffer from reduced sleep quality, particularly after your biggest training days? If so, magnesium supplementation can help improve all areas of your sleep by regulating melatonin production and reducing cramps that interrupt your sleep quality. Pillar's Triple Magnesium is a 300 milligram blend of absorbable forms of magnesium that tastes great and is Informed Sport batch tested to be free from banned ingredients.
So if you would like to try Pillar today and increase your sleep, get 15% off by using code NERO at pillarperformance.shop. Or for North American listeners and viewers, head to thefeed.com/pillar and enter code NERO for 15% off. A big shout to Pillar Performance. They were our first show partner, 100 shows deep. Thank you very much for supporting us. It's partners like this that help us continue to do this. So thank you to Pillar Performance.
Actually, well, let's pause there. Let's take this into a new release because Felt just released a new road bike, and let's assess this new bike. Do a spec assessment on the new Felt FR road race bike. So, in their own words, it's a new classic, redesigned and refined FR platform which showcases its prowess on climbs and technical descents. So this is there, actually probably similar to what the Scott Addict's going to maybe do. They haven't mentioned too much aerodynamics in this release, so they're definitely more TCR competitor, stiffness to weight, efficiency, the efficiency package. So light frame, round seat post, that's interesting. That's going to make a lot of people happy, the round seat post. And disc brakes, thin tubes, basically a climbing bike.
Can I just quickly say, it's just great to see Zone 2 training time getting a mention on its marketing spiel. Do you see that? It says, all-round performance, power up the climb, rip the descents. The all-new FR is focused on riders seeking performance, whether putting in Zone 2 training time or getting in the break on race day. The FR provides the all-round performance platform. Yeah, okay.
From podcasts to press releases for new bikes. Zone 2.
There you go. And spec'd with some Dura-Ace wheels. Ugh, okay, so you want to talk about this Ultegra build?
I'm going to start with the good. The frame? Sure. You want to
massively underwhelming.
You want a climbing bike? You want to climb I'm trying to think of other. You want a climbing bike?
Why is this their flagship road bike?
No, I don't think. Well, this is their. There's the whole other question. So they've got their aero bike, the Felt AR, I think it's called.
Yep.
They've got an endurance bike.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the climbing. This is the climbing option. So clearly, they've barely mentioned aerodynamics in it. So they're clearly going for stiffness to weight climbing, which is that's fair enough. We don't live in the Swiss Alps.
No.
I mean, if you did, you might want a pure climbing bike. So, no, I'm actually going to give it credit. They didn't try and Trek Madone it. They've just admitted it's a climbing bike. The only time the aerodynamics got mentioned was because it comes with an integrated handlebar. And so I'm going to give credit. Because if they had mentioned aerodynamics so much, I'd be sitting here saying, oh, they're trying to make it out like it's some aero do-it-all thing when it's clearly not. And so, no, actually, kudos to them.
And their aero bike, we didn't see that. Unfortunately, this one wasn't tested last week, but I mean, you can maybe run your CDA.
Just let me look at the frame for 6 seconds, and I'll tell you how many watts it is.
You'll be able to tell me how. But I will argue that is going to be it doesn't have a massively deep head tube, was the only sort of area of a little bit disappointment. But I would argue that's going to be a pretty fast bike.
Felt have a. So this is. I'm not going to look at the frame. I'm gonna give another justification of why it's aero. Felt have a big triathlon background. They know how to design an aerodynamic frame. I reckon that Felt AR bike is going to test.
I think Lucy Charles Barkley. She Felt. I think she's a Felt athlete.
So
someone fact check that for me in the comments. I'm not going to bother now. I reckon she is.
I've watched a video where she went to the... No, she was that other...
Oh, it's Cube.
Cube,
It's Cube. Yeah, it's Cube.
Yeah.
Four letters.
Yep. Okay.
I'm actually enjoying this felt lineup because they've got the VR road bike as well. Which, okay, so they've got their climbing bike and then this VR one, which is this it's a little bit like the Ribble
38
do it all
clearance.
38s. We're not as aero focused. We're clearly more quasi off-road focused with sort of dropper post ready anti-vibration inserts happening on the rear end.
That's just what you were talking
There you
about.
go.
They've got it. Yeah.
They've still got it.
Inserts. Okay.
Yeah, nice big stack on that geometry. I reckon that would be a very smooth day out. I would worry how heavy that bike is. Just 900 gram frame.
That's totally.
You reckon?
What? Unpainted with a cut in the down tube. That's listed frame weights are like
Is it?
listed
Okay.
aerodynamics. It's total make believe. It just is.
Integrated handlebars. Yeah, if there's someone out there who's ridden this, I'd be interested on a build weight. Pop that in the comment section. I don't think that's going to be too bad.
Can I get back to talking
My
about
bad.
the new release? So this is the new release, right? We're going to the Ultegra model. $7,499 USD. Okay. Climbing bike. You want a climbing bike? Cool. You got it. Integrated Vision Metron front end. If it fits your dimensions, you're happy. If it's see, that's like a high risk, high reward situation. Because if you like the length and width on that, those are super expensive retail. You're cheering, you're laughing. That's brilliant. If it doesn't fit you, it's the opposite because you're going, oh, there's a $500 extra I've paid for this bike for handlebars I can't use. So check the specs. If it fits you, you're happy. Gearing, semi-compact or mid-compact. Semi-compact or mid-compact? 5236.
5236 is semi.
Semi-compact.
Yeah.
What's mid-compact?
Oh, maybe that's what mid-compact is. No, that's the same thing.
Is it the same?
There's compact, mid-compact, and standard.
So what's semi-compact? Have I made that up?
I think you've kind of mid and semi are really the same thing, depending which part of the world you live in, I imagine.
I think, no, they're different words for the same thing. Carrying on. 1130 cassette. I like that. If it only had a 28, probably for most people on a climbing bike, a 5236 with a 28 cassette's too small, but a 3630. Climbing bike, I think they should have gone bigger in the cassette. I think 32 minimum for a climbing bike. I do like the bigger cranks though, especially with these bigger cassettes you get. With the 12 speed, fitting a 32, 34 cassette's easy. No problem.
I don't think there is a 32. I think it just goes 30
to 34. Okay, 34 in that case. You want to get close to, on a climbing bike, most people want close to a 1-to-1. There's a nice bailout. So that's good. And it's full Ultegra. Everything is Ultegra.
Including the wheels.
Including the wheels, which is, that's where you start to go, ooh, $7.5K US. Ultegra wheels. Again, they must have gotten a good price. I can understand the engineers in the room are going to say the bearings are cup and cone. I don't care. They're too heavy. And they're 21 internal, 28 or 29 external, which is with the 26mm Vittoria Corsa Next tire it comes spec'd with is nice. If you ride really super smooth hot mixed climbs in Thailand. For everyone else, they're probably you're going to be putting a 28 on straight away, if not more. In which case, you're going to want a wider rim. And I do think for an Ultegra spec, I don't think you'd be expecting a 1200 gram wheel set, but at least sub 1400 for an Ultegra build. I think we need in this day and age, given the pricing of the direct from Asia wheel sets, which you'd be slapping on if you're upgrading. So this just shouldn't come with Ultegra wheels. Good tires, though. I will give them that. For my preference, they're too narrow, but Vittoria Corsas are good. It's not like they're coming with Rubinos and they're going absolutely straight in the bin. You could at least get some riding on them done. Let me compare it to a Specialized SL8 because that's just that's That is the benchmark bike that we're comparing to in terms of what does the price go up to? You're kind of always checking, well, how much cheaper is it than an SL8? And so the SL8 in an Ultegra build, they do two versions. They do the $9,000 for the SL8 Pro, which comes with the integrated handlebars and the deeper Roval wheels, which is a full-on race-ready package. Then they've got the SL8 Expert, which is $7,000. So that's $500 cheaper than this new felt. Weight between the frames is probably going to be pretty similar. I probably should have looked it up, but the SL8 frames are so light. Even if the felt undercuts it, it's not going to be by more than 100 grams, so it's kind of a wash there. The $500 cheaper. Okay, well, what wheels are you getting on that SL8? They come with the Roval C38s, which I looked up, and they were 1,600 grams, and the Ultegra wheels are 1,570. So same weight wheels, although the Ultegra ones are a little bit deeper.
Yep.
So wheel sets are kind of a wash. That's probably something you would look at upgrading anyway. And it comes with a separate handlebar and stem on the SL8 as opposed to the integrated ones. But then the big difference is one of them's a Specialized and one's a felt, and Specialized have Remco Evenepoel and felt don't. So in terms of looking at those two specs, they're actually pretty similar. The SL8 is, most people are going to be picking the SL8, unfortunately. And so if felt, again, but it doesn't take much, right? Let's say felt have an in-house wheel brand. They spec a 1,300 gram wheel set, hooked, like the Rovals, slap, instead of 26s, put 28s on stock, and the weight of that's probably then going to be coming in 300 grams less than the SL8 build weight. Okay. We have some competition going on, but that's what I think of those specs. Anything else to add? Their gearing's the same. The S8 also comes with the semi-mid compact as well.
It's a tough sell when you put it like that in comparison to what the SL8's delivering. I mean, it's a compelling argument. Anytime you put any of these quote-unquote mid-tier bikes up against them, they do it well, and the support comes along with it. Do you want to talk about this wheel test?
Yeah, you sent this to me. How did you find this, by the way? Because this is a rather obscure...
This was a subscriber. Instagram DM, essentially. Passed this on to me. I wasn't actually trawling the internet or for GranFondoCycling.com. I'll be totally honest, I did not even know this magazine existed. So thank you. I am now alerted to its presence in the world.
Not paywalled as well. It's just sitting here. You can just go straight in.
Read it. And there's there's no banners like plastered down each side of it. So just quickly, 2024 Aero Wheel Group Test, 11 high-performance carbon wheels head-to-head. I don't know what it is about 11.
Yeah.
Why 11? That's seemingly
it's a
the number.
satanic number they're trying to hint at.
And I don't know about you, but I kind of started reading this, and this is going to be some subjective crap like,
Some of the first photos, it was them riding up a climb, and I thought, oh, okay. Yeah. It's going to be like a bike radar spec.
Yep. Oh, I really like the way they sort of go. But no, ultimately they did end up putting them in a tunnel. Just super quick, Bontrager Aeolus, 51s, K-Dox 50s, those wheels. DT Swiss 45s, which we'll come back to. Hunt sub 50s, lightweight Obermeyer Evos, Mavic SLR.
Pause, which costs €7,000.
Yeah, well, I said lightweight, so people know that straight away. I'm surprised they're that cheap. Reserve 5263s.
With a 19mm external rim width.
Shut up over there, all right? They might win. Don't give away the secrets here. My reserve wheels, the Roval Rapide CLX2s, Syncross, the Syncrosses that we were talking about, 60 mils, the Metron S 60 mils, and the Zip 454. So not a even rim depth across the board. So all the way up to 61 on the Visions and down to, I think, the shallowest were 45s on the DT Swisses. And again, weight-wise, the Visions being the heaviest then, obviously, at 1,600 grams. And the lightest were the lightweights, surprisingly. Oh, yes,
Just by 20 grams over those syncrosses.
So, yeah, and they did... do you want to just quickly run through the wind tunnel tests?
I can quickly. I must admit, after last week's aero testing, I'm sick of looking at testing. I didn't really look at... I had to look through the results. They did a similar thing. In a brand, look at that wind tunnel.
Yeah,
it looks like a sauna.
Does everyone in America have a wind tunnel?
It looks amazing. This is in Germany.
I was in Germany, sorry.
They test them at 45 kilometers an hour and 21 measurement points from -20 to +20 degrees of yaw.
Interestingly, on a Canyon Ultimate.
Yes.
CFR, which I thought was interesting.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Well, so I forwarded this to a brand person, of one of the brands that were listed here. And I said, how do you, would you expect your wheels to have performed better with your bike? And obviously the answer is yes.
If your bike was the standard.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was kind of like, well, to what extent difference would you, and he's like, I can't put a number on it. But his argument was that if they'd put all those wheels on their bike, the home brand's wheels would have always been fastest on that bike. And also if they'd put his wheels on, let's say, the Specialized SL8, he's not sure that his wheels would be as fast. So they're basically just doubling down on the fact that it's package life. Yeah. So anyway, I just want to say that.
I was going to say about the yaw thing.
Irrelevant. Yours dead.
This is going to be quite funny, but we're just going to have to build a bridge and get over it. Because regarding your angles, Peak Talk did a post talking about he had his aero sensor on and he was doing a road bike time trial or something. And he was saying he barely ever sees more than 10 degrees of yaw in his testing. So he's well, maybe he'll do a video and explain it more, but sounds like, from what he said here, lap data points from various pitot tube aero sensors, yaw over 10 degrees just doesn't occur even in windy conditions if you're traveling moderately fast, so over 35 kilometers an hour.
There you go.
Yep.
Done. Hold the speed.
So keeping these wheels in mind, they've tested up to +20, -20. And according to Peak Talk, it's more +10, -10 that are the more relevant results, and they should probably be doing some weighting so that the ones closer to zero are more important, which I'm not sure if they've done.
I was right. I mean, I explained this terribly last week, and it was laughable how badly I did it. But I am right in saying that the faster you go, the less yaw affects you, right? That's right, surely.
The narrower range, yes.
Because if I'm riding at 50 kilometers an hour, the apparent wind is less.
100%.
Because I'm making my own wind.
Yes.
Okay, right.
I think the way you brought it up was quite
terrible.
funny. It was kind of, the way you brought it up was as if the S5 is so fast that the yaw is narrower. Like, no. Well, someone might be riding it fast. Yes. No, but yes. So I
don't know.
This was a rabbit hole. I just couldn't really have the energy to go down again today. But I'm just because essentially you could just say these results are just crap because why are you testing it +20?
All you need to worry about 0 degrees.
says the guy on the S5.
That's right. Is this the moment to say this? Actually, I will say this now. Sorry, sidetracking us again. It's really weird with that stuff last week, and I'm doing it again this week. That you find yourself rooting for the bike that you ride.
Mm-hmm.
Like why am I doing this? Like it makes no impact to me, and yet I'm there going,
it's really good front on. Like it's really good,
and you can see it.
Look at it there. Look at it that for 1 second.
100%. And I guarantee you, every single person watched our show last week that then went onto that website was like, "How'd my bike do?" 100%. And then they were like, and then the chat would have been, I just see my foil was fucking killing it, and that's sort of. It's just you just start. It's like a footy team. Suddenly, I'm rooting for my bike. What am I doing here? But in fact, you'd almost want it the opposite because like if you do well on a bike, you get to then say like, oh, you're riding the faster bike than me. So anyway,
I'll quickly go through some of the results. Then, so the range of aero drag results, given that there was no rider on there, was from 91.89 for the fastest set of wheels, which was the Syncross Capital SL Aero 60 mils, the one-piece super duper 25 internal super light, €4,000, but you're getting your money's worth clearly from that result. They are the fastest wheels on test on the Canyon Ultimate, and the slowest ones were the lightweight Ubermeyer Evos at 101 watts. And so you're almost losing just in that wheel with no rider on it. On the bike with no rider on it, you're losing 10 watts there between those two wheels.
Now, in fairness, that they are 5 mil deeper than anything else there. I was particularly interested in the difference between the lightweights and the Cadex 50s. Because you look at those Cadex 50s that are right next to you. 5 years ago, you would have looked at those and gone, oh, they look like lightweights in a sense. Like, carbon spokes, that sort of flanged hub thing that they did. And yet those wheels are like 6 watts faster than the lightweights. So...
Yes. No, yeah. Well, they're better than lightweights.
Well, yes.
Unless you're doing a hill climb time trial. Up at 12%
I would argue dramatically better. Like, then that was sort of my point, was that, there's little, I kind of found myself having little mini battles when it came to some of these results. Like, for me, it was hard to not compare the Rovals to the Bontrages as like direct opposition.
Can I, again, this is like a tangent episode. Can we talk about lightweights for a sec? How can a wheel set that when I was getting started were the most advanced? It was, how have they done this? This is a marvel of engineering. They must be experts. To now be almost like you're a joke. You're a laughing stock of wheel sets. Their wider aero one, which is the Fernweg Evos, are 24 external, 18.2 internal. Like, what are you doing? How are you so far behind? Don't you think that's weird? Like, who works there? Or are they just relying on...
The answer to the question is...
Or would they tell me to shove my 25 internal?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm on a gravel bike.
But also they're riding... If you live in Geneva and you're riding up Schmeck and Spack Pass on Saturdays... You've got €9,000. There's a market for it. I don't want to really run reserve 52 63s up that every weekend. I mean, they'd probably argue that we're the niche market. Really, we probably are. In fact, when it comes to actual numbers of wheels sold, maybe I don't know. But you're right. I mean, but then again, I can list 5 brands from when you got into cycling that are now laughable. And a few people won't like some of the brands that I mentioned, but it's kind of the way of things. People don't adapt.
Yeah,
that's not news.
It's just a bit of a...
I mean, I'll be honest. When I even saw that they were on this list to test, I was like, "What? Why?"
Well, it's almost at that point. I mean, it's such a niche. I mean, they as you said, they might think we're niche, but I feel like whoever's buying lightweights is not reading aero testing results. They just want lightweights because they're really light.
Any other surprises? I mean, look, the Syncrosses were 60 mil deep. They're super light. They win. I think didn't they award them like the winner of the test?
Yeah, they
were
their winner. Yeah.
And then the reserves were the value winner. Did they use the word value?
Aero
no, they
wheel
used
set Best Buy.
Best Buy. I thought the Visions performed. I mean, they performed super well in the aero testing. Heavy as dogs, but still pretty fast on the flats by the looks of that.
93 watts. Yeah, but 93.9 was the Aeolus RSL 51s, which are a centimetre shallower and like within a watt. So, yeah, I wasn't that blown away by the Visions.
Well, I wasn't blown away by them. I had very low expectations.
And they're sort of 200. Those Bontrages are 200 grams lighter, 1 mil shallower and within a watt.
That's true,
It's
actually.
pretty good for those Bontraegers, actually.
I take it back. They've actually surprised me the most.
Walk it back.
Walk that back. Yeah, wow. Okay. Fair enough. Now I see why they're hanging on to those RSLs.
So your Cadex ones, these ones you've got here, 13, 15 grams,
correct.
which is okay.
I'm glad you think
22 internal.
Mm-hmm. 8X are like a...
Okay.
Yeah, it's...
For a 28, you're still fine if you...
I've heard it from Cadex they would like that to be 24, but it's a slow-moving tanker.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's
And
22.
95 watts, which is middle of the road. So that's, I mean, fair play. Middle of the road in these results, but they are light.
Mm-hmm.
22 internal. The problem with them is they're €2,799. Oh,
yeah.
I need to stop bringing it. People are just gonna get sick of me saying it. You can get that. You can get that for €1,000 less. I almost didn't say it. It was like, what's the point? Do better.
Do better.
Do better. And I'll say, and buy pay. So they're $2,799.
Mm.
If you've got that much money to spend on wheels, you're either going to go two ways. Why are you buying those? Save €1,000 and just buy your Chinese ones, or actually pay for innovation and get the Syncross ones. So pay an extra €1,500, and I'm saying that very flippantly. But if you've got the money, just wait longer and get the best wheel set money could buy that you can't get elsewhere. That's what I mean. We need to go harder on the mainstream brands. That's my takeaway. Like, why is that €2,800 from Cadex, who's giant, who are probably producing more rims than anyone on the planet?
Mm.
Why is that wheel set cost €2,800? If it was 2,000, different story.
Yeah. What I would love to know is, obviously there's two wheel sets here that I've ridden, or I've ride, actually, on a week-to-week basis. And one's flat 50 mil deep, and the other is, 5261, right? And
yes,
the 5261 is faster in this testing across all your angles, and even at the 0 where I ride all the time, because I'm going so fast, it's more, right? And what I'd love to know is that difference just the, Chris does maths, 4 mil of additional width that I have, or is it the fact that those two wheel sets that I'm talking about look nothing like each other? Well, at least for, most roadies would look at them and go, they are totally different. One is quite narrow, carbon bladed spokes, internal nipples, and the other, external nipples, steel spokes, but like friggin' balloon rims.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to know what's actually doing the damage there. Because, anecdotally, I have felt that those reserves do roll faster, and I've always felt that it's been due to that rim profile. But then I wonder whether they are heavier, and is the way the carbon spokes are laid up on the Cadex, is that bringing them closer? That's all. I just would love to know what the sort of the breakdown of that is, which I realize is an impossible question.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all. Because it's just easy to say, oh, well, they're 4 mil deeper, so that's why they're faster.
4 mil wider.
4 mil, no, yes, sorry, deeper. Because
but that rear wheel is a centimetre deeper.
Yes, but the front is 3.
Oh,
so
sorry,
I'm
the
totaling.
front. Oh, okay.
I'm giving a total package.
Oh, wow.
Package rim depth.
Okay.
Is my thing there. Yeah. Anyway.
No, I see what you mean. You're kind of looking at, well, surely some part of that is, so if you could build the perfect wheel set, what bits would you be picking from each?
That's it. Because that's it. Because I would love to see a Cadex wheel with that reserve shape, with their spoke with their like carbon spoke configuration, with that sick flangey thing they're doing on the Max 40s. There you go. Build me that. Cadex, build me that wheel. All right, that's what I want. I want that setup. I think Rovell. No, Reserve. You can buy the rim.
Yes,
from Reserve.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
To be fair to Cadex, I mean, Roval's the same, €2,700, 1485 grams, 21 internal, although the externals on those Roval Rapides CLX2s are quite wide. They have that weird, very narrow, not very narrow, but relatively narrow internal, very wide external. So there's something going on there with that rim shape. But again, they're 1485, €2,700. So that's not the top of your, I'm upgrading my wheel set. I'm going to get a set of Rovals. So that's another example. Anything else to take away from this test? Was there anything from their actual ride reviews that you thought was kind of interesting? Because they did do a subjective section. I didn't actually read it either.
I'm sorry. What am I going to gather? Actually, scroll down through it. All right. So I will say that I've ridden 2 of those wheels. So I will say that they will refer to the Cadex 50s as incredible stiffness to weight, laterally, super stiff laterally, great transition of power. That will be what they'll say there. And on the reserves, they will say that they handle crosswinds exceptionally and feel like they are sailing, increased sailing effect from the wheels, especially in a straight line. How did I do?
Yep, we got versatile handling, surprisingly good aero performance, remarkably light wheels for such deep, remarkably light.
Is this the?
This is the reserves. Remarkably light.
No, that's 60s.
1455. Actually, that's the same as the other. I wouldn't say it's remarkable. I don't know. I'd probably change remarkable to pretty decent.
Yeah. To be fair, they're a 4-year-old wheel now.
No, you guessed it. Can we just move on? Given that this is the 100th episode, and we've just spent a whole bunch of more time talking about equipment again, like about that subscriber question that was asking. Oh, not asking, but was making a statement actually about how we were saying, the punters that are a bit slower don't care about performance, and actually how the subscriber was saying, actually we do really care about performance. Don't talk down to us. Yeah, please do.
Okay, so this was from a couple of weeks back. I also want to mention, obviously, Chris and Jesse are elite racers and performance is top priority. But for the weekend warrior who may not race, is still out smashing it with their buddies. And if they think that they don't care about performance, they're crazy. And I would even argue that they are more financially able weekend warriors that have an FTP of 250 watts and can afford an SL8 or a Madone or whatever you have, that still care about going as fast as they can. I imagine it's more of those kind of riders that listen to this show than the elite 350 watt FTP Cat 1ers. Don't underestimate the weekend warrior explanation. Point.
Fair play. There's a few angles I could take it. I mean, he's kind of right. Because I get up here almost every week, and the first topic I'm generally most excited to talk about is the new gear or whatever the testing was. I really enjoy picking through it, chatting it through. It's fun. And it's clearly fun because that's what people want. That's what gets views. People want to hear us to talk about it. Even though me personally, as soon as I leave and I go home, I don't actually care. And I'd argue that the person that left that comment probably actually cares more than I do. But I still think it's an interesting thing sort of to talk about. And I think where it also starts to kind of come apart is it's so nuanced as well, because even though that person that commented with the 250 watt FTP really cares, just the fact of the matter is us splitting differences between your angles in some aero test matters more to me at my fitness level because I ride at a higher speed. So I will be able to split those hairs. And that's why it's interesting to talk about. And that's why we do talk about it. But the unfortunate thing is for the person that left that comment like that does really care about performance, there's less ways to make up performance because you're not generating as much drag you probably are at the point where between most of these aero tests, at that speeds you're riding at, you are splitting hairs, in which case the whole thing is just less interesting to talk about. But I don't think that should be gate kept. I mean, why can't you go and enjoy picking through an aero test, even though at the end of the day, if someone comes and asks, I go, actually, well, it might not matter for the speeds you're riding at. I think it's a really hard one because there's quite a few people that and probably similar to me that still enjoy, and this is probably one of the reasons why, at least I'm justifying that why we always talk about it, is that I'm not going and buying upgrades every 6 months. But I still find it really interesting to discuss. It's kind of like, for me, I feel like it's almost a bit of fantasy football vibes in that I'm kind of invested into it and I really enjoy talking about it and waiting for the next release and seeing how everything comes out in the wash. But it's almost like a different world. I'm not in there actually going and buying all this stuff all the time. I just enjoy sort of the spectator side of it. Is that?
Yes, dead right. And here's the thing. It's not like listening to, or when we get in here, listening to like Dan Bigham talk about the watt savings that he might find for Team GB's Team Pursuit, right? Which is clearly like it's coming from someone who that's all he thinks about, and and then you kind of, as the listener, are you then taking that information and trying to like put it into your own writing and somehow improve your own writing from the bits and pieces of Dan Bigham's research that he does? That's clearly not what we're doing.
Mm.
You're right. Like it's a fantasy football pie in the sky chat a lot of the time. But how do I say this? There's like it'd just be boring for us to get in, because if we just gone on here and said, oh, well, but see, the results just show that there's no difference between any of these things, so it doesn't really matter. And most of the people listening would then go, oh yeah, we would feel more comfortable with that sort of outcome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I use the term like pandering to that crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But I do,
which would probably be, for most people, that would be a fair thing to say.
Yes,
is you are literally splitting hairs. Don't worry about it.
But when we get arguing, like I'm in there just talking about Cadex wheels versus obviously we're splitting hairs between this stuff and we're having fun with it. But that's not just a discussion, I don't think, for people with a certain FTP. That can be a discussion for someone at a 200, 150 watt FTP. Yeah, the differences are going to be less and less, like you said.
The oars are going to be wider.
The oars are very much going to be wider. But I can see why this guy gets pissed off that he hears a lot of the, oh, but this is only if you're racing chat from a lot of outlets, you know. And Dave Arthur will do that. This is just I'm using him as an example. But like he'll often say, you know, this bike, more relaxed, whatever it might be, it's, you know, for those of you that aren't racing. And I can understand that. And this guy's like, well, fuck that. Like I want to try and go as fast as I can. Why should I be dumbed down to this level if I don't want to?
But it's a hard one though, because a lot of the time, what the performance characteristics that you're judging a bike on do change when you're going slower. It literally is. It's not that it's worse. It's just different. Like compliance will come into it more. Weight will come into it more. Versus so. I mean, yeah. I mean, there is a legitimate point to that, which isn't necessarily dumbing it down. It's just a different constraint that you're judging a bike against.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna come on here and only talk about bikes at a performance level as ridden at 26 kilometers an hour. I mean, that's not fun.
No.
Especially the other reason why maybe I'm just justifying this in my head, given that I spend so many hours every month talking about gear, is that even if you don't ride fast, the fact of the matter is, if you go and drop $14,000 on an S-Works, well, you bloody want to be paying for the best, even if it's only 4 watts at a speed you might not ride at that often. Doesn't matter. Again, the Ferrari example or the McLaren example. Yeah, okay, it doesn't mean, not because you're taking it to a racetrack, but you're sinking that cash in. You want to hear about how we think it stacks up compared to some of the other competitors. And so I think even if you're not riding that fast, if you are in the market to be buying this stuff, I think you do want to know that you're paying for the, how does this track bidon I bought stack up? What does Chris Miller think of it? I think there's still a valid conversation there.
Yeah. I do think as a rule, cyclists are very, I think there's this thing where you don't like being told by someone else what's good or what's bad, especially when they're not in your niche. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're not a weekend warrior, you don't like being told by someone who isn't a weekend warrior what's good and what's bad.
Mm-hmm. Sounds very elitist.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the some other way around. Like if a weekend warrior who rides 2 hours a week comes to me and tells me why they think their Scott foil is slow, I will like, well, what are you talking about? So it is. That's just the nature of this sport. We get very not judgmental. That's not the right word, but we don't like that as a rule, and we find that every week. Even when the week we talked about the all road bike, and I thought we were both pretty supportive of that Ribble road bike, that they were trying to put some aerodynamics features into this all road bike, and there's quite a few people saying, well, you don't have a fucking clue what we like. Get stuff. I'm like, all right, fair enough. Next week we'll tell you again. But yeah, it's I think that's just where it is with it. A bit of tech. Well, sort of tech / YouTube chat.
I hate the tech segments.
Yay.
Actually, no, I don't hate it because I've got something here. It's a GP Llama Shane Miller video. The Assioma Hack.
Okay,
another Assioma hack.
Interesting. That's
Infamous.
a different GP Llama chat that I'm going to have. Okay. So go on.
Well, so the classic Assioma hack, the OG Assioma hack, which was taking off the pedal bodies and putting on the mountain bike Expedo pedal body, so you could use your off-road Assiomas before they had the Assioma Pro MXs. That was really popular, that hack. And so he's done a similar one where you buy the regular Assiomas, you take off the look style pedal bodies, and you put on the new Expedo ones, which fit Shimano SPD SL cleats. And so you can run your regular Shimano cleats with the regular Assiomas with these pedal bodies, but you don't have to use the Assioma Duo Shees, which have a wider Q factor and were just a bit of a, what's the right word? I didn't feel like they were ever as complete a product as the original Assioma Duos were. And so this is kind of a workaround to that. What is with people and their cleats? So this is what you're doing. Sell this to me. Instead of, buying regular Vivera Assiomas and spending 15 minutes changing your cleats, and then they work pretty much the exact same as Shimano cleats. You are going to buy a set of Assiomas, buy a set of Expedo pedals, take off the pedal bodies, disassemble your power meter pedal, take off the limiting last metal washer from the pedal, reinstall the new pedal body that fits your Shimano cleats without that piece of metal, which stops stuff muck getting in there, and then ride around on this bodge of a pedal just so you can run Shimano cleats. Just swap cleats. Why is everyone so stuck with Shimano cleats? I just don't understand why anyone would go to that faff.
Well, you're clearly asking the wrong person, given I've run about a dozen pedal systems in the last 3 years. So it's not as big a deal for me.
Have any of which been Shimano Road?
Yeah,
Do you remember what they're like?
I'm on them now.
Oh, you are too?
Oh.
Okay. Would you... What camp are you in?
So what?
Would you just run look cleats like a sane human or mess around with your bearings
No.
and your pedal bodies?
I would quite happy. I would go to look cleats. Did it again. Did it in the past. Would do it again. No issue. But I get the mindset of it because I don't think you're that far away from being that mindset. I remember sitting here with you almost this time last year, and you had an incident where you hit a pedal on a fence or something the day before an event, and you destroyed your pedal, and the only pedal that you would accept in return to do that event the next day was a look style pedal. You wouldn't do it on anything else. I was physically there when someone offered you Shimano pedals.
You're
and you
way
said
off.
no.
Nice try.
I don't want to do that.
There is a gigantic difference between changing your cleats the night before and expecting to go and ride 150 kilometers in a race that you're expecting to do well at versus having all the time in the world to change and set up your cleats on the new system.
No, I don't think there's that much of a difference.
Okay.
Not that much of a difference.
The reason why I'm saying is this it got a lot of, so many people were so excited. Oh my God, I can finally use Shimano cleats with my Favero pedals. I was just change cleats. It's okay.
See,
just change them over.
You know what's going on here. This is the Trace fellow kind of fake mechanic thing that's happening here.
Poor Trace Velo. What's he ever done?
Oh no, I mean like people watch him,
right?
And they're like, "Whoa, this is amazing! You built this. That's incredible!" Like the comments are amazing on it. It's like he's literally changed cycling, right?
Okay.
How many people do you reckon actually go out and do that stuff? 2% of the people who comment on it? 1%? 0.5%.
Right.
I just think it's catnip for YouTube. That people see like these hacks and they're like, "Fuck yes, get me on this."
Okay.
And I watched the whole video. I have
full 25 minutes.
I have less than 0% chance of me ever doing this, but it is. It's like, oh, look at that. That's cool. I will say I am interested by those pedals. I did check out Ride. So he linked Rides of Japan's video. So he checks the compatibility between those Expedo pedals with the standard Shimano cleat system. They work really well, and they save 50 grams, Jesse Coyle. 50 grams. You'd pay a lot of money to save 50 grams.
Yeah.
On a pedal system. So you might just see me.
Oh, Chris Miller. Oh, okay.
Problem is the Shimano Duras ones just never die.
No.
So there's just no need to do it. Get your hands off this.
That feels
rough.
You're not riding them at Amy's. There's half a watt there. They actually do feel.
They shouldn't. They're new. They came with them. Well, I bought them with them.
I think a strip and rebuild's in order.
Strip and rebuild. Get them. Go Ed.
Edwin?
Next week. Yeah. So, okay. So that was. I can't answer your question. I don't know why people are obsessed with it.
Sorry. I will let you continue with your tech segment. I just wanted to.
I'll see how far I get before you nod off over there.
Okay.
I did want to mention while we're talking about pedals, GP also, Mr. Llama, also reviewed the Lux off-road pedal called the X-Track power meter pedal. They look pretty cool, sort of almost twice the price of the Assiomas. It was interesting watching his review. So they performed pretty well in his testing, so across the indoor stuff, the outdoor stuff. However, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. He found an issue with the pedals, with the power meter readings, when he purposefully would pedal kind of on the outside or the inside of so he wasn't like putting an even pedaling power through the pedal.
Oh, okay.
And he found that that's where
that's a worry.
That's where the power would go and he couldn't find a consistency to the issue. So it wasn't as if, on the right foot when he pedaled on the outside of the pedal that it was reading lower or something like that. It would vary around.
Okay.
And I of the three, so I saw here, I saw Cycling News did a review and one other. No one else picked this out of the platform apart from him. Just pedaling normally, it worked quite well. So it's not like these were an absolute fail, or maybe it does mean they are an absolute fail. Would you have a thought on that?
I haven't watched this whole video, but I'm on Shane's summary page. And there's a few points here. Accuracy appears to be influenced by the install angles, which is kind of an interesting one. Fixable, so that's not a fatal flaw. You just have to be careful when you install them. At no point were these pedals consistently within acceptable accuracy ranges. Power reporting is influenced by pedal body pressure position. So yeah, where you're pressing on the pedals. That is, as a product, that is two jobs is to accurately read your power meter and then be good enough to not fall apart off-road. It's doing one of them. It can't do one of them. It's not accurately reading power. So that's just a total... For me, like for power meters, it's a pass-fail.
Yeah.
Either it accurately reads your power or within whatever the 1.5% is, or it doesn't.
Mm.
That's kind of crazy.
Disappointing result. But yeah, he'll do his usual thing and follow that up. But I just wanted your thoughts on that.
That's an interesting one. In that, I'll be interested to find out down the track how they can account for that. Because one of the problems that the power meter brands have, and I think this is the thing with the Shimano power meter, is it's actually just the way the strain gauge is placed is you can't really fix it. They kind of have to bodge the software to try and correct for it, which is never ideal. And I'd be interested to know where that error is coming from. If it's like I'm pedaling on a different part of the pedal and that's then pushing on the strain gauges differently, surely, like, depending on exactly the angle that you're pressing on, how do you correct for, like, a sort of a scale of issue that has infinite increments? I don't know how you can correct for that.
No, you can't. You can't. I've done some beta testing for power meters in the past, and as soon as you start trying to correct in software what the strain gauges are giving you, you're heading down a dead end, essentially. And I think that's potentially where, unfortunately, the Look X track.
Well, we saw that with Shimano, where their fix was like to bump up the right side or something. You're just chasing your tail at that stage. You just need to. So, I mean, hopefully, for the sake of having more competition in the power meter pedal space, it's not that, and they can send them back out to Shane again, and have them fixed. But I'm a little worried that method of the power being accurate makes me quite scared.
The only other thing, I know this. Can I just do this really quickly?
Is it about
really
cameras?
quickly?
Does it have to be about cameras?
Yeah, it does. But look.
All right,
GoPro released their new camera this week. GoPro Hero 13.
They're on to 13.
13.
Wow.
13. There's plenty like funny YouTube videos where it's like, here's the GoPro 3 and the 13, and the difference is not that big. But this is Techtober, as you know, Jesse. We get smashed in the next 6 weeks. Marquez Brownlee's channel will be going nuts, I imagine, with plenty of releases. So GoPro 13. The reason I wanted to kind of quickly talk about some of this is it's essentially the same GoPro, okay? I'm not going to go into the specs of that. They have brought like a little magnetic clip in now. So like a lot of the other brands like Insta360 and DJI have that thing where you can kind of just clip it on, clip it off with a really solid magnetic thing, as opposed to, with the GoPro at the moment, you got to screw it in no matter what. Not exactly a incredible fix. They've got a few accessories, so they're changing some lenses around, all that kind of stuff. The reason I wanted to bring it up from a cycling perspective is they've reintroduced the GPS. So they took the GPS out in the 12, and they put the GPS back for this one, which bites a bit more battery, but is meant to give you the ability to do the metrics, okay? And so this is what I want to say. The last couple of weekends, because you told me that I never would do this, I've been riding with my camera a lot, and because it's super easy and clean to do.
I used the footage in an Instagram post.
There you
Thanks
go.
for that.
No problems. And you see that metrics on there. So this is why I want to go into this, because I think GoPro have fucked this up, and all the other, like Insta360 and DJI have done it the other way around. There's another brand as well I'm missing. I can't remember. But so what they do is they don't use GPS. There's no GPS in there. They link it to the time code in your phone. So if you connect it to the app, it grabs it. It's 12:31:14, whatever it might be. So it grabs that time. And then when you put it into their app, you link it to your Strava file, your Garmin GPS, your Garmin Connect, or even your Coros account now. It will link to that Strava activity. So as long as it's got the correct time from the phone.
It's like
phone,
that app that did the auto overlay thing.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
And so it just bangs it straight in. So there's no GPS required, so you're not sucking. That's why the battery life of some of those devices are quite good, because you're not using GPS. So GoPro, go ahead and put that back. Now, here's the thing, and you might have seen this I don't know if you've ever done this in the past, but you use a GoPro when you're out on the bike and you just do the hit it on. You don't turn it on. You do the thing where like most people do.
Press the
record button, it starts recording.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do.
That's what you do.
That's what I do.
So if you've got a GPS in there, how long does it normally take to find a GPS signal? 10, 15 seconds maybe, a lot of the time. So what ends up happening is it doesn't actually sync correctly to the GPS data. It might only be 10, 15 seconds out, whatever that might be. But if you're just doing the thing where you're going into the app and you're doing like what I did on the weekend, where you just you're not doing some back end resyncing to try and you're just taking that. I'm sitting on your wheel. Instead of me sitting on your wheel at threshold at 350 watts, I'm sitting on your wheel at 150 watts because it's like a kilometer back down the road. And so the functionality that they think they've put back in is actually still just as useless as it was, because just like we're saying with the power meters, they're now trying to backroom engineer a system that the other brands have just nailed. Like this system, and I didn't know this, but if you have an Apple Watch or any smartwatch with DJI or the Insta360, it will connect to that. So you don't even have to your phone in you. It can just connect to the watch and go, oh, that's the time. Cool. Carry on.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go back in and sync, it's all relatively correct. So that's because people have asked me on the last couple of weekends, how are you doing the metrics? It's really, really easy now. It's much easier than it used to be. And the other thing is GoPro have stopped supporting the thing that they used to do the overlay with, which was like Garmin, what was it called? Varia or not Varia? Verb.
Yep.
Verb. They don't support that app anymore on the desktop. So you're kind of looking at third-party things once you do that. Okay. That wasn't too bad, was it? I think there's 7 people that were kind of interested in that, personally, from my perspective. Next week might be something new launched. New watches today. Very disappointing Apple launch. I'm sure you've checked it out.
Oh,
very disappointing Series 10.
Oh, okay.
We got a black Apple Watch Ultra. Right. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, there's rowing. That'll interest you. There's now a rowing app in the workout. It's the first time that rowing is now in an Apple Watch. It was part of their keynote. Stroke count, everything.
Yeah, because they're into that whole indoor gym. There's a rowing machine. They try and support all that. It's all the Peloton.
Yep.
Health, lifestyle people. It's not for actual.
Oh, there's outdoor stuff as well.
Yeah. But they're not making an Apple Watch app for the 300 Olympic rowers in the world, or the 1,000 collegiate rowers.
It always blows my. They always seem to double down on diving with these things. Yeah, it's this whole big thing. Like even I saw Garmin release their new watches, and they're like, "We've got."
Oh, you mean like going underwater diving?
No,
I'm thinking Olympic diving.
No.
What?
I just find it fascinating with the diving stuff. Like, what's the diving community? Surely, is that big?
Yeah.
Oh, it is big. Okay.
You need to go on holidays more often.
Yeah.
You go to anywhere in Indonesia, anywhere Southeast Asia, even in Europe and stuff, like all the places, Hawaii, anywhere that has good weather has diving, snorkeling, and they're using all those.
Surely, if you're going actual diving, you get like some sick diving watch,
you're probably
Omega or
you might
Rolex or something.
But if you're going like relatively shallow diving and you don't want to buy a
Hubbard diver. All right, well, we're going.
There's more people doing low level diving than rowing. Like you go on a holiday. Oh, we'll record my little scuba. Yep.
Yeah, I suppose. No one's really going on like Bali, like rowing
Yeah.
trips.
Yeah.
Not a thing. Okay. It's another week where we mentioned rowing. Isn't that great? It's like a month in a row. Fantastic news. All right, let's quickly have a chat about the weekend, Jesse Coyle.
Oh yeah.
You and I traveling down south of the border to Amy's Gran Fondo.
The big one.
Now, I mean,
The fourth, the sixth classic.
seven.
No. Is it a semi-classic or a mid-classic?
Oh, that's true. It might be.
Does it
Well, because there's
reference?
6 Grand Tours.
Tour,
the Giro, the Vuelta, Tour of Hainan,
Tour of Hainan.
King High Lake.
King High Lake. Yes.
Oh, there's 5. And Tour of Southland.
Tour of Southland.
Yeah, it's a
Grand
tour.
No, I thought it was that one in Portugal.
Oh, yes.
The Dopers World Champs.
Dopers World
Wasn't
Champs.
that one?
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of people claiming that the fourth Grand Tour spot.
The 6th classic, I think, is the Abu Dhabi Gran Fondo. That's the one with like $300,000 on the line.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anyway, semi-classic, Amy's Gran Fondo. Interested, here we go.
It's the Gran Fondo World Championships next year, 2025. I got to qualify. Pressure's on. Top 25% of the age group, you qualify. And we're entering next year, Chris. Gran Fondo World Champs. Everyone's coming down under. Lorne is quite a small town. I don't know if they've thought through the logistics of this.
Yeah, they have. Not that many people.
I can way to hype it up.
There's
There's going to be people. There's going to be people sleeping in sleeping bags on the footpaths. We're going to be out of accommodation. That's how big this thing's going to be.
Are you actually doing it for the world qualifying thing? Is that actually
I have to qualify if I want to go next year.
And then you will go and do it?
Yeah.
Huh?
What do you mean? Well, why would I not go? It's here.
Yeah, I suppose.
I'm not going to fly to Denmark to do it, like it was this year.
No, true.
But it's just in Lorne.
Yeah.
You have to pick and choose a year. The one in Denmark this year wasn't that. There was a couple of 1 minute little pinches. It wasn't climbing, so you probably wouldn't really want to do it anyway. But let's say it's in. Yeah, if it's in Lorne next year and it's a similar course with plenty of climbing on it, winning. My point is more, you can get into the things about how it's selected and whatever, but at the end of the day, you winning that next year would be the biggest result you could possibly get. In everyone's other eyes, aside from you and maybe 6 other people that are like, oh, it's not a road race. For everyone else, that's the biggest thing you could do. I think if you not buying into it like that, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Because you don't get to compete internationally in anything else. Unless you maybe went and did like Hort Route. That kind of thing.
I know what's going to happen. I'm going to go away this weekend. I'm going to come back and then be like, oh my God, that was amazing. When's the next one of those? And I'll be like scouring the calendar for like, I don't know, there's one in Indonesia and we're off to that. And now I'm massively into the series. So what's the plan?
I can't give that away.
Okay.
This is the big...
This is a big
people
release.
might be listening that are in my age category.
I am super excited about this because I am going to try and make a video from this. I'm definitely going to, because there's very few events. Now, we're in different waves, so you're going to start 4 minutes before me.
Yes.
It's
an awkward setup, right? So we're penned in age groups, and then we go off, and I think it's 3 minutes to the next one after us, and then it's a minute and a half after that. So it's all going to be a bit of a dog's breakfast out on the road, I'm imagining. Of you guys, your front group will be flying, catching the slower guys from my age group, and you'll be trying to find where the front is. And then generally, I'd argue that like some of your age groups are actually going to have more depth at the front of the field than the lower age groups. So you might catch us or me, or I don't. Well, it's going to be quite interesting.
But yeah, you're right. There is a curve to these things, and I'm at like the apex of the curve when it comes to the age groups. It's like 40s to 50s. They seem to be like where they all kind of meet. But yeah, so I think it's like 4.5 minutes between the two of us. You go straight up this 20-minute climb.
23, I think.
23-minute climb, literally straight out the door.
Yep.
Little bit of a descent, then you're kind of climbing again all the way pretty much to 80 Ks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you drop back down onto the coast and fast 30K run in.
Book it home
to the finish. And
so it's essentially it's 120 total, but it's really only 80 kilometers because then you're dropping down a long 10-minute descent and then you're on the flat. So it's basically 80 kilometers of death.
Yep.
And then see where you are.
Yeah. No, it should be good.
Chris Miller will put a minute into me on the descent.
Yeah. No, I've heard it's literally just a straight shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually a coil descent. It's fast, not technical.
Okay, good.
And use your 56 tooth and right away.
Very good.
Yeah. So there's that. Going to run some cameras. Hopefully get some content out of the whole thing. What's the other thing I was going to mention to you? My only concern is because there are shorter. So it's a race. Mm-hmm. So you get, I think there's like a podium for the age groups.
Yes, there is. Yep.
So there's and like we said, there's a 30K run in that's flat. So there's a good chance you'll be coming to the finish with a group of people, and sometimes a group of people from different age groups. But I'm slightly concerned that because there are shorter versions of the event, that you'll be coming into the finish line in a bunch with like people with baskets on their bikes rolling around in the family fondo, and meanwhile you got like Miller slamming in there and he's bunch of 60 and they're all trying to kick for 13th to qualify. I'm a bit worried about that because that can sometimes be a bit of a shit show. So hopefully that's not the case, but we will see. Because I know that was the case with the Tour of Brisbane one, that you kind of came into the finish and it was just people all over the road.
There's a Medio Fondo, 45 kilometres, which is just the return leg home, Apollo Beta Lawn, which is the road you're going to be coming. I hope they start them at a time where you don't have packs of 40-year-old masters privateers humming along on Cervelo S5s, sprinting to make the top 25%. That could be very
And you throw in the other dynamic. You're normally in a group with, people in my age group, people from like the X age group up, down. And so everyone's sprinting because they're all going for their place. It's not like, I can't win today, so I'm not going to sprint. It's like every last place matters type thing.
Because if you don't qualify, this is the world you're not in, Chris, but I'll indulge
I'm
you
there
in.
now.
If you don't qualify, you're off to Tour of Brisbane in April.
Ugh.
Or if you can't make that in April, you're having to fly to whatever, Thailand to do some other qualifier or Japan or something to get your qualification in. So there's big stakes here.
I'm on board now.
So what are we equipment-wise? Mm-hmm. Have we done a your angle assessment? What are we S5 or TCR? What are you?
No, I'm gonna run the S5, but I'm just gonna run the bike.
I did talk you into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't really up for debate.
Okay.
It's just the bike that I do ride the most, and also being a race, I own the bike as well. That plays a bit of an aspect to it.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly don't think it'll be a performance disadvantage. The climbs aren't steep.
No, they're not.
They're fast. They're kind of, I think the average speed would probably on that main first climb still going to be close to 20 Ks an hour.
It's a bit of, I think it's like 21 or 22. Yeah.
So it's not going to be dramatically slow there. And what else was I going to say?
What are you going to eat? Drink? It's an awkward bottle configuration a little bit because it's not that long and it's also going to be quite cold. It's top of 13 degrees for the day, so it's not going to warm up. What are you going to run?
I don't run arm warmers then.
Potentially.
Like that for the photos. Because I've only got black arm warmers, and if I've got navy bibs, I just have to go tough it out. 2 bottles. I've just run my standard that I ran at States.
What size bottles?
750.
2 750s?
2 750s, 100 grams in each. Salt with a little bit of sugar with a bit of salt. I'll run a couple of gels, maybe.
8 caffeine gels.
Caffeine gels. No, I'm going to hold the caffeine back. I don't think that's going to play a big role. For me, the caffeine hit is far more valuable in really long races.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you get over 4 hours.
Yep.
I don't find it gives me anything. This will be 3 hours, 10 minutes. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we'll see. Camera setup. I'm going to run my little fella here.
Okay.
I've got a solution for it now to get the
good.
POV up, and I'll run a little rear camera as well. And you're going to run a front camera.
I've got a front. Yes.
So whether we do it like 2 different stories, we'll see how it plays out. What about you? What's your plan of attack, nutrition wise?
800 ml bottle and a regular bidon, 600 ml sugar water, SAS nootropic. The goated setup. That's all I run now. Sugar water and SAS nootropic.
Yep. I'm fully sure I've done the same. So the last 3 races that I've amazingly won, I say amazingly won because not like that was amazing, but I actually won is, and once you use the system like I've used that system consistently now for 18 months, and it's just, you know it. Once you know it, you just stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The saving grace is not going to be hot. So I'm going to be lucky to get through 500 ml of fluid an hour. I'm going to have to probably be forcing that down.
Yeah.
So don't need
that's
that
true.
much water.
It's true. No sugar flask. Not
Nothing.
long enough for this particular event. Aero socks. Hock Prosen?
I'm thinking I'll probably run overshoes, NERO suit. I don't think I can do the POC. I think it'd be a good course for it. Cold conditions, that flat section in between the climbs, the run along home on the flat, but it's for a Gran Fondo.
It's too much. It's too much.
And there's going to be a lot of hang around the finish line, hang around the start line. I'm not taking mine.
No, I won't be.
I did toss it up though. It was in the mix, but no, I won't be taking it.
That's not on the start line for me, unfortunately. Yeah.
Saddlebag?
Ooh. Actually, so I'm going to run a rear-facing camera. So, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
So if someone sees me on the side of the road, throw me a canister, will you? No saddlebag. 54.40 with the 11.34 setup, goat setup for the 2x, really. And yeah. So you're training for this. Fascinating.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, you got sick.
Yep.
He's going to lose Watts here. We're on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting for those first few sessions back just to see the deterioration in fitness, and it was going to be amazing. Little did I know that seemingly I don't know what's going on, but the actual sessions you do fascinated me. So I want to bring this one up. For any of you who don't follow him on Strava, it's a fascinatingly boring follow, but it's also like...
The maps all look the same.
The maps look the same, but once you dive into them, you just go, what is this? So this particular session, you roll in, and then there's just this flat purple line at 300 watts.
No, it's at
It is.
It's at 290.
Okay, fine. It's at 298.
What day are you on?
It's the 4th.
Well, it's
Anyway,
280.
so let's say that's fine. It's 290.
Okay.
Okay. Then
which is that I went in and I was doing I was going to do a tempo day. That's zone 3.
okay.
Yeah.
And then so at the exactly 50 minutes, you go up to 390 watts.
I started an effort. Yeah.
And then you hold that for 30 minutes? Yeah. So you go in and you ride for 50 minutes at 290 watts, and then it's just straight into...
Then I did like a 25-minute max effort.
25-minute max effort.
Yep.
What? Like, do you prescribe... is this just ad hoc, or what are you doing here?
That was totally ad hoc. Usually there's some rhyme or reason. The day before that, I actually had a really good session the day before. I did a kind of crossover VO2 max / anaerobic capacity session. It's that one. I think you might have done similar where it's 6 max efforts, but they were 1 minuters, not 30 seconders. So I extended them out a bit. So that was just endurance, and then 6 1 minuters. I did the first one. So this was after just coming back from getting, I had like a week or two after getting sick, and I thought, all right, come in. Not super. I actually didn't really feel like riding on that day, actually. I know, I remember that day. That was the Tuesday. That was before we recorded. We recorded that afternoon. And I was like, oh, I need to go do a session. We're recording in the afternoon. I don't feel like riding. I'll just go in and do endurance. And you can see I did an hour at 256 watts. And I thought, actually, you know what? My ass kicked into gear. I wasn't even going to ride. Then I thought, I'll convince myself to go in and just do endurance. And then, of course, what happens? The juices get flowing. And you go, actually, this is not that bad. And I thought, I'll do that. I'll do my effort with it. I have like a bank of like 50 sessions. And I'm like, I kind of know, I don't schedule my training, but I know what sessions I want to be doing. But I thought, there's no way I'm going to do this session. But I went and did endurance. And then I was like, okay, no, well, I'll do the 1 minute effort sessions. That kind of fits with the rest of the week with what else I got on. So I did the first 1 minute effort, 489 watts. Not max. I just thought, just even if they're only at like 8 out of 10 effort, still quality, still enough load, and maybe I can do a decent session the next day. And I thought, actually, no, legs feel pretty good. The next one's at 540. I'm thinking, okay, that's 2. If we tick them off at this, it's a really good session. Next one's 585. And then the headphones are in, something on, oh, actually, I'm getting fired up here. 4th rep, 652 for a minute. Now I'm starting, I'm starting to go like red hot here. You know, no one's doing 650 watts for a minute without some good lactate. Then it's all bets are off. Then I'm like, all right, this has turned from a tick a box, come out tomorrow for a good session to actually, no, I'm going to really like throw the hammer down. Second last one, 654 again. And then now I'm going, oh, these are good watts here. I'm going to fully send the last one. By the last one, I'm up at 692 for a minute. So 707 watts for a minute. 5th best ever 1 minute power. I'm going up Lock Avenue. There's mums with prams like, is this bike all right? Like fully shouting. Headphones are like near max volume and a full send. So that was that session. This stuff's all ad hoc. I don't really plan any of it in. I have 2. I that's what my training's like at the moment. That easily could have been any of the other. Oh, sorry, no, I'm kind of jumping around a bit. Go look at after that though. So I did that session. That was on a Tuesday. Wednesday, I did the session you were just talking about, because then the next day I went in and I thought, oh, I'll just do a tempo session. I'm not feeling super motivated. And then like, fuck, I feel really good today. So I ripped into like a maximal effort. And you can see that length. This is what you can tell on the 4th. You can tell the length of that effort you were talking about, where I was doing 300 watts and then went up. It was 25 minutes and 41 seconds. You can tell that if you read between the lines, clearly there's no structure there. No one prescribes a 25 minute and 41 second session. That was just, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. I had a good session yesterday. I'm just going to like send it again. And I got to 20 minutes in. I was like, oh, maybe I could get to 30. And I got to 25 and almost totally blew up. And so that was the next day. That was 394 for 25 minutes. And then you can see, well, then the wheels fell off because then I went to do the chop on the Thursday and it was cancelled, so I spinned around. That was just an hour of endurance. Then the next day, after that, the Friday, again, nothing. Just went in, couldn't be bothered, an hour of endurance. The 7th, that was the Saturday, 10 a.m. on a Saturday, an hour of endurance. That's a write-off. And then I went in on Sunday and had another quality session. And so, this actually had some reason to it. This was something I pre-thought out. So it was 2 hours of endurance, because I've done, as you can see from those sessions I did on the Tuesday and the Wednesday, they're all capacitive. So fresh, essentially pure raw power building. But clearly for Amy's, I need a bit more conditioning work. So I went and did 2 hours, 250 watts, and then did a 40-minute effort at the end. And for me, like 2 hours of 250 watts now is quite fatiguing because my volume's been quite low. Usually that's nothing. That'd just be a warm-up if I'm actually training heavier. Now I was actually kind of tired by the got to the end of that. And so then I just did a really good 40-minute, again, that it was 375 on the gravel bike. That was pretty much max. Crawled home. What did I do on the way home? Like 117 watts. I was cooked. So but that's more of a conditioning session. But that's the week. It's all ad hoc because I like with this show sort of drains me, plus then work, and then Little Ash. It's like if I'm on the bike, if I go into an endurance, I'm happy. I don't need to do a session. It's just sometimes I get angry at something and I'll just go flog an effort.
But that's what makes it more frustrating from my perspective, because I know you're not following some, because you're normally very strategic about this stuff, ever since I've known you and like the build stuff that you've done. It's always been, no, I'm not doing that today. I'm doing that tomorrow type stuff. And now we're in this phase of you doing this ad hoc. I see how the legs are. Oh, got good. Oh, yep. No, I'm on now. Oh, get out of the way, mum. Prams. I'm on 700 and bazillion watts, best ever 1 minute powers. And like that to me now is like, are you fucking kidding me? And there's a conversation that I've wanted to have on this show for ages, which I kind of loosely brush over now, which is like this thing of like not comparing yourself to people, because it's certainly something that I found myself do with you in the past to my own, it's just the nature of what you end up riding a lot with someone. You immediately start comparing yourself to what they're doing. And I'm sure you've done, I remember you talking about like watching Jay train and stuff like that.
It's depressing.
It's super, super depressing. It really is. And you have to stop doing it. I was kind of saying, look, I was deep diving into some of your Strava stuff, and I purposefully don't do that for that exact reason, because it's like, are you joking? Like, this guy's been literally coughing up a black lung for the last 2 weeks, and he's in there doing that. So that's more of a...
I didn't. No, hold on. Just because people are gonna be like, oh, you didn't. I had a week and a half after being sick of healthiness before I went and did that. Go and look at the sessions I did after getting sick. There's nothing amazing in there.
I'm not necessarily saying it's rational for me to, and I don't do this now. I'm obviously hamming this up a bit for our chat, but like, it's easy for people to do that.
Right. Okay.
Kind of like frustration at someone else. And then because what ends up happening is you start copying them.
Don't copy someone that has no plan.
Well, we certainly don't copy someone who's more talented than you.
Yes.
Because then that's where it really starts to work against you, because you might be doing the exact same thing as them and their threshold's going up and up and up, and yours seemingly is not.
100%.
And it's a kind of niche chat, I suppose.
No. It's important. Like, it is important. And there'd be people who look at the training you do, and they go, "Oh fuck, Chris! Oh, that was a quick climb. Oh, what sessions did you like? You can't. Yeah, everyone's an individual. Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing? And you've been in here when I do some of these sessions, and I spend a lot of time in Centennial Park.
Fact.
I'm going to say, this is going to sound really bad, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I push harder than anyone else in Centennial Park. I've never seen someone ride as hard as I do in an effort in Centennial Park. You've been on some of those hour efforts. You've seen like how deep I go. Like, it's easy to look at a session like, oh, those were good watts. The specific one where I did 300 and then I did the 25 minutes, there was some scenes. Like, most people in Centennial Park most people are kind of dilly-dallying around, or they do a few efforts and they're kind of they got some stupid workout where they're trying to exactly hold the power and they're super confused. Like, no one's in there, like, about to pass out, coughing up blood over their stem. Like, in some of these sessions, it's quite easy to just look at a file and go, oh, that was good power. Oh, look at these 1 minute efforts. Like, yeah, I'm like going to like disgusting zone in some of these sessions, which just produces more trainings. It just does. A zone 4 effort versus a maximal effort for the same duration, the maximal one induces more stimulus. And so even though my volume is quite low, and I'm not always doing good efforts. I have some average weeks, or even at the chop. Like I roll out of the chop, absolute white hot, and you'll see me. I come back and you're like, "Fuck, what's wrong with Coyle? He's wobbling around." Yeah, because I'm caning myself, and I think that maybe that gets lost a little bit in that you don't see effort level in a Strava file. You just see good numbers.
I don't disagree with you. The ability to hurt one's self to that, I mean, that's part of your talent, I would argue. Now, you would say that it's part of the whole package, really. That's what makes an athlete, the ability to hurt. You are right, though. I see you, and I realize I'm going to completely contradict myself, but there are elements of the way that you seem to be able to put yourself into this ultraviolet zone and like just go with blinkers on into this ultra universe that I actually do try to copy that in certain circumstances because I know you're right. Like there is the trade-off, the training trade-off is there. And you see, and you're right, you might look at a power number at the end of that effort level and go, oh, wow, good on him, like 300 and whatever watts, easy for him to do. They weren't there when you were bleeding out the eyeballs. And yeah, I know.
Which is not to say someone that's doing 280 watts isn't going as hard. There might be. But I've seen a lot of people, I'm a coach, I see a lot of people train. Quite a few people just don't go that hard. That's just, what's a hard zone for effort?
I do think a lot of it's, like you mentioned, the bizarre zones and intricacies to a lot of these. I mean, I wanted to reference this. So one of the cycling vloggers in Sydney that I didn't mention when we mentioned the cycling vloggers was a guy who lives up in the North Shore, and it's the moderate cyclist.
Yeah.
He did a video where he lives is where we do some training up around Acuna. I do more than you. Acuna Bay, which is like the national park, wildlife park kind of area of Sydney. Climbs, no traffic lights, all that kind of stuff. And he did a video that was like, how do I do my structured training outside? Right?
Mm.
And I kind of looked at it originally and went, are you joking? You live in literally every effort I've ever done, I could do where you live, and it would make my life 10% better than going around and around in a circle doing it.
Yeah.
So, but his point was because of a lot of the online structured training stuff that he does, it's so many variable levels. So it's 110% of threshold for 30 seconds, drop to 75%. Increase to 85%, wait 10 seconds, attack at 400%. So it's these bizarre long configurations that I as a non-coach, would argue is literally just there to keep the person entertained rather than, and is probably getting some sort of training stimulus, don't get me wrong, but if someone just sees on their training platform 4x8, they're like, no way, that's too hard. Whereas if they see some training program that has 83 different steps in it, then they're more likely to do it, maybe. And so that then coming back to this thing of just going and hurting yourself when you know you're just going to be locked in the locker for eight minutes and there's nowhere to go, there's no variance to it. Maybe that does breed a better mentality than the multiple steps. Like, 'cause Dan's done the multiple steps with me when I was like at a super low point where I just was like not progressing for linear reasons, mostly nutritional. And he did a lot of this kind of, heaps of different steps because you didn't want to see your 8-minute power being so low.
Yep.
So you're just like, give him all these other intervals.
Yes. Almost a distraction while you actually get the adaptation underway over a couple of months, and then you can start to, okay, where am I at?
And to the point where I didn't know whether I was improving or not improving because there's so many steps in these workouts. I'm not there going, oh shit, my numbers are 10% lower than they were last week. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, you're right. And so whether that's intentional or not kind of depends. I think a lot of the time it's not intentional, like Dan would have done it for you. It's just that's the nature of probably an indoor training platform or any other training platform that wants to have, like, it's just marketing. You want to have nice looking workout files that someone looks at and go, whoa, that must be some secret sauce. And because it's got lines all over the place. So that's, yeah, a lot of the time that's not optimal. It's ultra confusing. And then, yeah, you got a case like that where someone's living in a place with nice climbs and they can't really fit anything in, which is a shame. And I guess my training recently is the opposite of what Dan would have given you back then. Mine is like absolute black and white. Exactly where am I at? Because I have such limited time in the week to train that I don't have a month to sort of go away and just tick sessions off and then check in where I am. It's like, no, I need to see improvements now. I'm doing 6 weeks. That's what I got. And so I have to, and that by nature generally makes a lot of the sessions harder because I'm trying to cram improvement in and cram intensity in because I don't have 13 hours a week to ride. So yeah, different approaches. All you just got to, that's more to your point is don't copy. Like, I don't even copy myself. I'm training differently now than I was 6 months ago. So you just got to, take a look and learn, but don't judge on it. Definitely.
I didn't comment on your video, mate, but if you want any, you got a 20-minute test from the marina to Terry Hills. You got a 40-minute from there out to West Head. You got VO2s up the steep side of Acuna. You've got 8-minute efforts up to the climb in Acuna. You've got a 6-minute effort on the anti-clockwise. You got 40-30s on West Head.
You got Duffys for like flat road work, maybe some intervals if you don't want to go up a climb, like 30-30s, you could do Duffys.
And don't worry about the fact that there's bits of downhill in them. That will make you a better rider. Guarantee you. Especially on that West Head road. If you can get good power out, if you want to use that West Head road as like a longer effort, I think the ability to get the power out over that varied terrain is going to be beneficial in my own. You disagree?
If you're experienced, it is. That takes a long time. That's like a couple year process to be able to do a nice steady effort on West Head and keep the power sort of plus or minus even 15 watts from your target. That literally takes years. So yeah, I'd probably be doing McCahon's to Duffy's.
That's good niche chat, that one, I reckon. That'll really engage the Cotswolds audience. Right, let's finish up. Longest episode ever. Well done, Jesse. That's our nod to the 100th episode.
I hope it is.
Any quick highs and lows you want to mention?
Quick highs and lows.
I was thinking, well,
can
I start with a low?
Yeah. A low.
Going to Eurobike?
Big fat waste of time.
Yeah, it's a big fat waste of time and money. Yeah, massive. Yeah. Unfortunately. You kind of looked at me weird when I suggested going, and I should have probably listened to you.
Like, what did we really get out of it? Half an episode for 1 week? I think I went with the wrong impression of what I was going to hopefully achieve, like, for the show, because what I thought I was going to get was sort of a couple of relationships that we could lean on where we would be able to then, like, bring some insight into the show, like some behind the scenesy stuff or maybe what's coming kind of chat. No one really wants to talk about that. None of the brands. I kind of got sold a few duds with all of the brands, actually, that they were in some way helpful. They don't give a shit, nor do they need to. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was just a fat waste of money at this point in time, which doesn't say I won't go to another bike show, but it just won't be in Europe. Put it that way. Yes, it's quite a long way to go. I don't have any lows, but I got some highs, some highlights. Holding at speed, calling out the holding at speed. And I love that that's now so soaked in that basically any reviewer now that says, you can tell they're about to say it and they kind of like trip themselves up. Like, oh, should I say hold at speed? All came about, by the way, remember, when the SL8 was released and Tour Magazine were like, it is 2 watts faster, maybe 3, unperceivable on the road. And everyone came out was like, it just holds its speed though. You just get it up to speed and you could just feel it, and it was just like, if you can feel 3 watts, you are a magician. So I thought that's still a highlight. Just kind of making a laugh at that in particular. Other one as well that sticks with me is the episode that we did talking about hookless. And I don't know where this came from, but you telling the story that Zip had a patent to glue the hooks back on the hookless wheel sets. Every time I think about that, I still laugh. I don't even to this day know if that's true. Is that true? Did we know where that came from?
No, that was because we were spitballing ideas as to what Zip would do if that UCI banned them. And I was like, they'll bomb the hooks.
No. Yeah, you can't back down. I'm pretty sure you came in and said, I've got some secondhand info that Zip are going to be, they have a patent to glue the hooks back on. I thought that was a fact.
That's potentially.
Maybe it was a NERO fact.
Could have said that. I mean, this is coming from the same person that told everyone that UAE would get off Colnago, even though UAE owned Colnago. So that's not
good.
That's some of my better calls along the way. I don't know. I did particularly like the anecdote about the S5 freewheeling turns.
Oh yes,
that will always stick in my mind.
Yeah. I love that one because that wasn't from us.
No.
That was a story from someone else.
Yeah.
That was a real life. That was a real life certified fact.
Yeah. And then literally now, every time I'm doing like a ride like that, and I come over the top of someone, I'm like, I almost feel like just stopping pedaling and just coming through. Yeah. Anyway, that's that.
Does the show keep going? Does this just forever go on?
Oh, I suppose.
Is there an end date? It has changed. We talk about equipment way more than the first 50 episodes. We kind of dabbled in a bit of equipment. We used to do more cycling YouTube chat. I missed that actually. I would like to do more cycling YouTube chat. It's just not really in my algorithm that much anymore.
No.
I guess we still talk most of the time if we're talking about cycling YouTube, it's like, oh, they reviewed something or they tested something. It's always mixed in, isn't it?
It starts off a conversation about a certain equipment type or a trend. Yeah, like, I mean, for example, we didn't talk about, I think probably the biggest video on cycling YouTube the last 2 weeks was Tyler's one, the Climb to Kaiser event that he did, which I'd done 2 years ago because it wasn't on last year. And
you won that, didn't you?
I did. But he went faster than me this time.
Oh.
Yes. Because he was in a group. Well, we've had chats. He's going to be on.
Do we
need
to save that for next week?
Yeah, no, we'll save it on for when he comes on. We're going to fully break it down. But because he did the whole thing of, because he's a bigger boy now, he was like, oh, well, how am I going to go when I was compared to my super skinny self type thing? And I actually was having this chat with someone during the week who watched it, and he was like, oh, I can't believe he was like, got around faster than he did back in the day. But then go look at the video of him back in the day when he was fasting for weeks on end, doing training sessions with like 80 calories. And now he's actually fueling himself like a proper human. And all of a sudden he can actually do efforts for 7 hours. So anyway, maybe we can kind of delve into that some other time. But like videos like that, they're probably not as neuro-showy, talking pointy as they were, maybe. I don't know.
And a lot of the cycling videos in cycling YouTube are now equipment videos. At least in my circle, you've got VC, Tyler. Then you've got all the magazine channels, the Bike Radars, Road CC, they're GCN. They're mostly equipment. GCN did do some other little things like the Cool America's Cup thing they did. We didn't really speak. I think you mentioned
it's
the
coming.
other week.
We're getting into that.
So they do little bits like that, but even NorCal stuff now, the ones we talk about ends up being the equipment stuff. So maybe I could try a bit harder to get more YouTube non-gear chat, but it just seems to all come back to gear, doesn't it? I mean, we can do more training chat. I'm not that interested in talking about training because all the rest of my days is training related. So I don't really want to come on and talk more about training. And it's also not that much you can say that's related to training. Once you kind of said something and that's it. Like, there's not that much to circle back on. It doesn't update that fast.
I would challenge us to talk a little bit more about.
I don't want to do more pro cycling.
No.
Oh, thank God.
No, God, no. No, what I was going to say is that's what we did. If you could look at those first few episodes, there was at least like a third of it talking about pro cycling.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we toned that down.
Yeah. But even then, when we talk about pro cycling now, it tends to be equipment-based.
Yes.
Yeah. What was I going to say? But even stuff like kit and things we don't really talk about anymore.
And then the thing, I think it's like that because the gear and equipment is kind of universal. Whereas if we talk about something riding related, because we're two elite roadies, it's going to be in that sphere. So then there's a whole chunk of the audience which is just like toning out because it doesn't really relate to them. Whereas the gear and the equipment from an E-grade starter to even like a gravel road rider to an elite rider, it's everyone can get something out of it.
Yeah.
So even the just general bike chit chat stuff that we usually end up saving for the second half of the episodes, we can't really do that much more because even though sometimes that's the funniest.
Yes. And there's a whole other, I'm going to say the G word, but.
Gravel? No, I'm not.
I won't get you there.
You would have to start a splintered podcast with Tyler if you wanted to do that.
But even his gravel riding's not relevant to me either. I was talking to him during the week about because he's doing this thing where he's riding from like Canada to Mexico or something.
Oh.
And he's got his aero. No, it's not his aero. I think it's his ultimate, and it's all like tripped out with frame bags and stuff. I'm like, what sport are you doing? Like, I don't get this.
Yeah.
But his gravel is totally different. Like, it's like sleep deprivation, some of his gravel racing. Whereas I just want to bash myself for 3.5, 4 hours. Yeah. Oh, actually, in the YouTube space, I do want to shout out Greg McCahon. He's back. Oh. So he is.
Who's that?
I'll link him below. He's been riding from Canada to Argentina. Him and his girlfriend. However, there was a plot twist in this most recent episode. They get his last couple of his videos got like over 1 million views. Like they're big. And him and Victoria have been riding south. However, I don't want to spoil it for someone who hasn't gone to watch it, but there's been a cast change.
Oh no.
So it's quite emotional actually. So it's very
Has he got a boyfriend now?
No, that could be next episode.
Okay.
Victoria's left, so it's just him.
Left or left him?
Both.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that's not actually funny.
Funny at all.
Oh Jesus.
So yeah,
does he speak about it in the video?
Oh yeah, it's quite emotional.
The latest episode, cycling through Mexico alone.
Correct.
Okay, I'll add it to my watch later.
It's a tearjerker. Get Nicole. You gotta watch a few of them. Because like she's a massive part of it.
Oh, she's in the channel thumbnail.
Yeah, she's big part of it.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, it's tears. It's actually very emotional. So if you are going to sit down and watch this, beware. It's a bit of a tearjerker, this one.
Okay.
But fair play to him. He's carrying on.
Oh. Sorry, Greg. That sucks.
He's all right. Getting there. All right. On that note.
Well, any other highlights? Is that all you got? 100 episodes, 2 years.
You got a new desk.
We got a new desk.
Took us 100 episodes.
Yep.
Took me 100 episodes to build it.
Low light. I got a low. All the audio visual. Oh my God. Thankfully, it doesn't happen as much now. Oh, the first 50 episodes. I reckon.
There's a few lost.
Oh my God.
There's a few lost to the ether.
Oh, the things we had to do.
Yes.
Thankfully, it's a bit more stable now. So we got that sorted.
Sadly, yes. There's just the nature of there not being a third person to monitor when things go wrong. It's normally one of us seeing that something's stopped flashing or, it's something's ejected that we lose it. I think we had one where one of the cables pulled out and we didn't realize it until the end. And yeah, so that's definitely some low lights along the way. All right, so that's episode 100, JC.
Tick,
done. Thank you very much to everyone who's watched, subscribed, commented, liked.
Bought the NERO gear.
The NERO
suit.
Big thanks to the show partners along the way. Hopefully, we can sort of continue that on. And guys, we will hopefully be here for another 100. We'll see you all real soon.
See you for 101.